headlines of this hour. Bangladesh polls close and the voting ends separately. Bomb blasts at 2 polling booths as Bangladesh votes in a high-stakes election following the 2024 ouster of longtime Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Police say an 18-year-old woman killed her mother and stepbrother before opening fire at Foma School in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, Canada. 9 people, including the suspect who died by suicide, are dead in one of Canada's deadliest mass shootings, while the motive is unknown. Russia fires drones and ballistic missiles across Ukraine overnight, targeting energy systems and injuring at least 7 people in Kyiv, Dnipro, and Odessa. Ukrainian officials say hundreds of weapons disrupt power, heating, and water as a massive attack hits buildings in the capital. Russia has blocked popular messaging apps WhatsApp for failing to abide by Russian legislation, the Kremlin has said. Peskov said the decision was due to WhatsApp's reluctance to comply with the norms and letter of Russian law. President Donald Trump says talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu produced no definitive agreement on Iran. Netanyahu says Israel's security must be protected and signals no clear U.S. commitment to expand talks beyond Iran's nuclear program. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel joins President Donald Trump's Board of Peace during talks in Washington. Images show Netanyahu signing the accession document after meeting Secretary of State Marco Rubio, confirming Israel's membership. An advisor to Iran's supreme leader says Tehran will not compromise on its missile capabilities amid ongoing talks with the United States, while Ali Khamenei calls the missile program non-negotiable during events marking the anniversary of the Islamic Revolution. Libya has granted several foreign companies new oil exploration and production licenses for the first time in 17 years after more than a decade of political instability, as Libya is seeking to draw major global energy companies back. Now for this hour, we start with India. India is currently reviewing an invitation from U.S. President Donald Trump to join the Board of Peace for Gaza ahead of the inaugural summit scheduled for February 19th in Washington. The Ministry of External Affairs has confirmed that the proposal is still under examination, with concerns over the participation of Pakistan and Turkey on board. The decision will also be discussed during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Israel, which will address regional security and Gaza's future. Meanwhile, Russia has decided not to attend the meeting, initially showing cautious interest. President Vladimir Putin had even proposed a $1 billion contribution to the board's efforts. However, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has confirmed that Russia will not participate, citing the board's potential to undermine the UN and the complex geopolitical situation surrounding the initiative. Despite this, the board continues to garner support from over 20 countries, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, while Russia's allies remain critical of the project's scope. Now, for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Ali Muhammad Bushbak. He's a Middle East researcher, joins us live from Cairo. Thank you very much, Mr. Bushbak, for joining us again. Good to have you. Now, looking at this, why do you think some nations are hesitant to join, while others seem to be so, quick in accepting this invitation of Board of Peace? And how effective would this be for the world peace?
Thank you, Osuma, for having me. Things is several of countries realize that the notion from Donald Trump to replace the rule of United Nations and limited the rule of United Nations in general. So this peace border, Trump peace border, it's going to be as an alternative way in a state of United Nations. That's it. Most of the country against to join and participate in this border. And in my opinion, this is not only limited the rule of United Nations, but it's completely remove United Nations as a mediator to mediate the conflict between the nations. And there is no doubt about Trump and his policy after his term in America have been well done. So he want to be as a king of the world, and he want to be he's always like to be a showman. So in these things, in this border, he will be as a showman. So he will maintain his role in international community. But in my opinion, and as a Palestinian, and I talked to several of Palestinians, there is the peace border. It has meaningless, and it doesn't mean anything since they are started supplying it. And since the Donald Trump, he announced the Palestinians, Israelis ceasefire, still Israel violated the ceasefire on the ground. That more than 700 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire got effected in October 2025. So the things is on the ground situation is not clear, despite most of Arab region and Arab country, they are showing their willingness to participate in this peace board. So I'm not optimist about it. I'm not optimist about the rule of it. Most of the observer, they are against the join of Benjamin Netanyahu, since he's a war criminal. How he will be a member of the board, the peace board, and he initiated the war. And here it's his backlash against the civilians on the ground in Gaza. So it was not acceptable, and it was not arguable about it. So how he will be a member for peace, how he's also invaded several countries from Lebanon, Syria, Qatar, also Iran. So how he will be a member of peace, that's it. Something fishy. Most of the nation, most of the country, they don't have any belief in this board. And I'm telling you, as a civilians, and I talked to several of Palestinians in Gaza, they said it's meaningless and it's powerless. Just only they created for their own political and for their own purpose, not to save the peace on the ground. What the border have done for the civilians, while Israel yesterday and today morning, Israel have bombed the civilians in Gaza. Tent and children, women have been killed daily. The bloodshed is still ongoing on the ground. What this border have done, it's just only...
Mr. Bushbuck. So Mr. Bushbuck, as you know, you say that this could be Trump's symbolic platform, which is more aligned with his own maybe personal gains or initiative. So how might the rejection or participation of some countries affect their relationship with U.S. or Trump administration? How dangerous would it be for them to reject this invitation?
See, in my opinion, most of the countries, Middle East country, I guess they have no trust for Trump and for his policy. And most of the international world, we have seen what he have done in Venezuela and with Maduro. We have seen what he has done with Iran last year. While he was negotiating Iran, he attacked Iran simultaneously to make his baby Benjamin Netanyahu more happy with his policy. And Benjamin Netanyahu is promoting and taking this as advantage for him to promote himself in Israeli community and to show himself as a power man, and he could affect the American administration, and they could do whatever they want. But on the ground, I guess Arab nation, they lost the trust for Donald Trump. And I guess now America, it has a limited rule in Middle East, especially after Israel's attack in Qatar. Most of Arab nation, they realized that America, it's not aligned with the Arab nation, and it will not protect them from any attack. That's it during Iran's tension and America tension. Most of the Arab countries, especially Saudi Arabia, while Saudi Arabia is considered one of the significant enemy for Iran, they did a diplomatic method and diplomatic communication to calm the situation. So that's it. We have seen there is a new align in Middle East. Saudi Arabia is trying to lead it. Most of country lost it, and most of the Arab nation, they understand that America will not save them from any external attack. That, I guess, most of the country will not accept Donald Trump and his rule in the region. And in my opinion, this board, it will not success, and there is no future for it. It's just only created to save Benjamin Netanyahu, to save his greediness in Middle East. But in my opinion, that will be as like a mirage.
With that, I would like to thank Mr. Ali Muhammad Abushbak for joining us and sharing that insight with us. Thank you very much. Now we move on to India. Indian Trade Minister Piyush Goyal has announced that nearly 90% to 95% of farm products have been excluded from the India-US trade deal, ensuring protection for Indian farmers. While the agreement would benefit textile and apparel exporters by offering zero tariff access to US cotton, it has raised concerns. The deal, which was outlined in an interim framework released on February 9th, aims to reduce tariffs, improve energy cooperation, and realign global supply chains. Despite some agricultural market concessions, India resisted broader opening, facing criticism from farmers and opposition parties over the deal's terms. Now we welcome Dr. Andrew Latham. He's a professor of international relations and political theory at McMaster College, joins us live from Minneapolis. Thank you very much, Professor and Dr. Latham, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at India has been protective of their farmers from the beginning, but now it seems like they had to make some changes because of the pressure from Trump administration. But India seems to have made some compromises on cotton industry. So as we know, India's strong apparel and also their strong export relies heavily on cotton. How do you think this will be affecting the current administration's popularity? And also, do you think that this is the beginning of them compromising, or do you think this stops here, the compromising for or from Indian government?
I suspect it's the latter. I suspect this marks the furthest limits of compromise for the very simple reason that the agricultural sectors in both countries are simply not up for negotiation. They're too important to the economies. They're too important to the ruling parties in both countries. They're bedrock constituencies. Neither side is going to make the concessions that are necessary for a comprehensive deal. Both sides, though, have an interest in doing some kind of deal, which has to involve agriculture. So we'll see a little bit of mutual concessions on the margins, the cotton industry, which is not entirely marginal, but is not the entire agricultural sector either. So this is exactly where I think most observers expected we would end up. Both sides motivated to do a deal, both sides running into structural constraints as to what kind of deal they can do, and both sides making the best of a sort of difficult situation.
Right. And what other industries might follow suit or will have to follow suit in India?
Well, beyond the agricultural sectors, there's the information sector. There's a number of sectors that India does very well in exporting to the United States. And of course, then there's also the labor mobility piece as well, the H-1B visa, part of all of that. Look, in a perfect world, and we don't live in one, there would be a great deal of free trade between these two countries, and most people in both countries would benefit from it. but certain powerful political constituencies in both countries would suffer enormously, and they've dug their heels in. So we're going to see, especially in the agricultural sectors, not much progress. I see possibilities in the information sector, in various other sectors, but not in agriculture. I think this is as far as we're going to go.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andrew Latham, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving to EU leaders are meeting in Belgium to discuss how to strengthen Europe's economy in the face of challenges from China and the United States. French President Emmanuel Macron has emphasized the need for quick, concrete decisions by June. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has stressed improving EU competitiveness and boosting its industry, while Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has highlighted the importance of peace for economic growth, suggesting the war must stop. While Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has called for a review of the EU's emissions trading system and energy market regulations, leaders are focused on ensuring the EU doesn't fall behind global competitors. Let's listen in to some of the leaders.
C'est ce qui est important. On vient d'en discuter avec les collègues et ensemble, c'est vraiment qu'on aille vite et qu'on ait des décisions très concrètes d'ici à juin. Et nous, on va regarder ensemble en juin où on en est. Et sur certains sujets, si on n'avance pas à 27, en se donnant le droit de faire des coopérations renforcées pour aller plus vite.
Union schneller machen, wir wollen sie besser machen, wir wollen vor allem dafür sorgen, dass wir eine wettbewerbsfähige Industrie in Europa haben. Dafür gibt es viele Themen. Wir haben Enrico Letta und Mario Draghi eingeladen, um genau über diese Themen zu sprechen, Wettbewerbsfähigkeit und europäischer Binnenmarkt. Wir werden in 4 Wochen auch über die
So in fact, competitiveness means that the European economy is going down, and we should stop the process and we should go up again. How we can do it, that's the question. I think we should do 3 things. It's not complicated. First, stop the war. We need peace, because in war, the economic growth is blocked. So war is bad for the business.
Now we welcome back Professor and Dr. Andrew Latham. He joins us live from Minneapolis. Thank you very much, Professor, for staying with us. Now, looking at this, some critics say that Europe makes more regulations than it innovates or develops. Do you think that this is just a strategy that, or this is just the outcome of how Europe has been, or do you think this is they need to update or change their strategy moving forward as we see how their economy is right now?
I think it's a deep structural problem with the Europeans. People, I think, some within, but certainly beyond Europe, think that this is the United States of Europe, and it's not. It's a relatively loose union of independent states, all of whom are governed by very different political parties with very different economies, very different takes on the war in Ukraine or the green transition or the role of regulation, welfare state spending, things like that. And they really can't agree. Layered on top of that is a network, as it were, of regulations which tend to strengthen Brussels as the kind of capital of this economic and political union, but in ways that work against competitiveness. So we've got a real desire for increased competitiveness amongst Europeans, but very different visions about how it can be realized and achieved. And then there's this smothering layer of regulations which are intended more than anything else to strengthen the hand of the European Union's officials in Brussels. You put all of that together, and the prospects for European recovery, if I can put it that way, are very slim. One of your speakers there that mentioned Europe being in decline, and I think nothing that's going to be agreed around the table in this round of discussions and negotiations is going to reverse that. Europe is in structural decline, demographically, economically, geopolitically, and President Macron and others can claim otherwise all they want, but that is the deep and unsettling structural reality.
Yes, as you mentioned, the structural decline and the need for them to come up with their strategy. How efficiently they must do this, and given the sectors that have already left them behind, like AI and many innovations that we don't see it coming in from Europe.
Well, that's right. We see some nodes of innovation within Europe, typically within national economies, not within this thing that doesn't really exist, a European economy. It's not to say that Europe is going to exit the world's historical stage tomorrow. It is to say that it is not right now in a place to compete with the United States, with China, with India, and various other countries which are at the forefront of this wave of economic and technological innovation. And Europe is simply being left behind. There are plenty of smart people in Europe, many of whom leave, and many of whom are not Europeans. That's the demographic piece. You put all of this together, and it's not clear to me or to European leaders what they collectively can do to reverse the rot and the decline. And I think we're beginning to hear a note of panic in European leaders as this reality dawns on them, that the chunk of the world which dominated the globe for a few hundred years is now being consigned to the kind of margins of the world economy, the margins of global culture, and that sits very uneasily with many people who live in or come from Europe.
So do you think are we beginning to see the ending of, or are we beginning to see the beginning of the developing country versus developing country, but more in tech sector or more in more of technology driven that? And where do you think would place EU or European countries?
I think we do see the center of gravity shifting. I mean, the United States is still an important node in that part of the global economy, but so is China in a way that wasn't true 30 or 40 years ago. So is India in a way that wasn't true 30 or 40 years ago. And I could go on. The global south is becoming a place where real innovation takes place in the cutting edge economic and technological sectors. And certain parts of the world, I mean, it's just a shift in the economic and technological balance of power. Certain parts of the world are declining. Not to say nothing good goes on in Europe, plenty still does, but it is not in the Premier League anymore. It's in the second division and maybe is headed for the third division. Whereas other countries like China and the US and India, just to name three, are definitely in the Premier League when it comes to this kind of cutting edge innovation.
So how important do you think is it for many countries, not just Europe, to stay alert about these inequalities that are emerging due to this?
Well, I think it's important. Again, in a perfect world, every country or every union like the European Union would like to be in that top tier of countries innovating. That's where the high value added jobs are. That's where the knock-on effects in your economy are that are positive. That's where your security is enhanced in terms of the next wave of warfare being AI centric. Really, the dividends of being at the cutting edge of the global economy in those key sectors is beyond estimation. It's very, very important. And so to the extent that a country like Europe is slipping, of course, they're going to look for ways to prevent that slide. I'm just not sure that the European Union has the mechanisms, the reflexes, the personnel needed to engineer a reversal of that decline. Maybe certain countries can, but they're now working against the European Union in terms of its regulatory overreach. Again, when I look at the big picture, I look at one of long-term European decline, and I look at it losing out to many of its competitors in the global south.
With that, I'd like to thank Dr. Andrew Latham for joining us and sharing that insight. Thank you very much. Now we move on. A deadly storm named Storm Nils has caused significant disruption across France. Winds reaching up to 162 kilometers per hour have been recorded at 850,000 homes are currently without power. Authorities have confirmed that a lorry driver lost his life when a tree fell on his vehicle in southwest France. Schools have also been closed in several regions due to the storm's intensity. Flood warnings have been issued with the Garonne River at risk of overflowing and roads and rail services which have been severely disrupted. Meanwhile, maritime traffic is facing delays. The storm is expected to ease by tomorrow morning. Furthermore, residents in affected areas are advised to remain indoors regardless of the conditions as power outages persist in the Nouvelle Aquitaine and Occitanie regions. Now moving on to Pakistan, serious concerns have surfaced regarding the health of Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan, after medical reports submitted to the Supreme Court of Pakistan indicated that he has been left with only 15% vision in his right eye. According to details presented at the report, Imran Khan had initially suffered a complete loss of vision in the affected eye. Sources further claimed that limited recovery restoring only 15% vision followed what has been described as a discreet medical intervention at PIMS, allegedly arranged by government authorities. These claims have been intensified debate and raised fresh questions about his medical conditions and treatments. The development has deeply affected his family. His sister Alima Khan has reportedly broke down upon hearing that her brother had completely lost his vision and was left visually challenged in one eye. The emotional reaction underscores the gravity of the situation and the distress felt by those closest to him. As legal proceedings continue and more details emerge, concerns over Imran Khan's health remain a significant point of public and political attention across the country. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news and updates from around the world.